Do you ever wonder how successful entrepreneurs built their businesses from scratch? Are you unsure if starting a business is for you? Well, tune in as we discuss how successful entrepreneurs transformed their ideas into reality. Welcome back to From Zero to Revenue with your host, Chris Yap.
Welcome to my podcast show, From Zero to Revenue, the show that features the journey of successful entrepreneurs on how they transform their ideas into revenue. I'm your host, Chris Yap. I am super excited to have our guest here today. Honored to have you here. A family friend whom we've known for years. Someone Azel and I really admire, just with your commitment to your family, your community. We're just really amazed with just the energy and your ability to just really transform your ideas into reality. So guys, please welcome our guest for today, owner and founder of Active Real Estate, Anna Ratiu.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Wow, that's quite an introduction. Thank you.
And I hope I pronounced the name.
Yes, you did. You did. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Perfect. So really excited to have you here. I know we tried a few months ago, but with the schedules, and actually not the schedule, but just my ability to operate the studio that time was limiting. But Anna, please tell us a little bit about Active Real Estate and what you specialize in.
Yeah. So Active Real Estate, I started this brokerage about 4 years ago. I've been in the industry for about 18 years in real estate. And I decided to start my own real estate, honestly, through the pandemic.
Okay.
Right. During that time, you have a mind shift. And so I wanted to start my own brokerage because I thought, gosh, it's either now or never. And my goal in starting my own brokerage was really to offer a personalized experience to every single one of my clients. And I already offered that before, but now with my own brokerage, I have full reign and full control on what I can do and what I can't do. And what I mean by that is, you can offer services to a certain extent with, depending on who your broker is. But now if I want to work for a little less because I can see someone's really struggling and it's going to help with the overall goal, I can make that decision. Or I can tailor my time differently with my own brokerage. And so that is how I started, and I love it. It's been 4 years.
That's amazing how the focus, and we were talking about this before we started, is, just a genuine care for people. So what makes your clients choose you over competition, given, you have so many competition out there? What makes your client choose you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I go to multiple listing appointments. It's basically an interview. And it is a job interview. You are working for your sellers. And that the whole goal for most agents is to get out there with the listing, right? I look at it a little bit differently. I want to get out there. I want to walk away from my appointment with a friendship or with another relationship. I may not be the first listing agent. And I've come in multiple times on different home sales where I could be the second agent or the third agent that they choose. But because I've established that relationship, that is why most people choose me. And also because I try to be relatable. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a number. It's a person that we're working with. And you have to put that first in everything.
And as a family friend, we definitely feel that. We have several friends who are in real estate, but you can really tell they're keeping that connection because they want to sell something eventually. But with you, we never felt that, that's the difference of being genuine with a genuine care for people.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people have worked through real estate thinking, okay, I got to get the sale. I got to have someone sign the contract right then and there. I operate the way that I want to be treated. And I don't want someone coming in thinking, okay, I can't leave until you sign right here.
Yes.
And that's not how you do business.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, because we operate the same.
Right.
We're not, we don't pressure clients. We, like I was saying earlier, it's, we have this mindset of we're trying to solve someone's problem here. And whether that problem, the solution to that problem is my solution or someone else. But I think that's a difference in having that genuine concern for the client. So I know before you started active real estate, I mean, you were already in real estate. But prior to that, what was your background?
Yeah. So it's so funny because they say once you get into the industry, it just keeps sucking you back in, right? Into different ways. So from my undergrad, I started out working with a mortgage banker, and I worked for him as the administrative assistant. From that, I kind of saw all angles of the mortgage business, and I ended up in compliance. And I really like that because I am a very, like, those things kind of are exciting to me, which is funny because for a lot of other people, they could be totally boring.
Yes.
Or I don't even want to deal with that. And so I got into multi-state and HUD licensing. And I kind of played with every aspect from processing to loan origination. But compliance was really what I guess kind of lit the fire underneath me and made me feel like, okay, I can take this. I understand it. I feel really capable in running the show with this. And I actually started my own compliance business.
Oh.
Yes. And I was working with multiple lenders in multiple states who wanted to go into other states and transact mortgage lending. And I did that for a number of years, and then the market shifted. Right? 2008, yes. 2009. And I said, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. Obviously, there's no business. Nobody wants to get licensed or, is really doing compliance when all of these mortgage companies are going under. And so I said, okay, maybe I just got to go back to school. And so I went back to school. I went and got my master's degree in education. I taught high school for 2 years.
Interesting.
Yes, I loved it because that was really my passion was science. So my undergrad is in science, and I did that for a year. That was right around the same time that I had my first daughter, and I thought, gosh, why am I paying for childcare almost equivalent to what I'm making working with, almost 100 other students. And so I made the decision to stay home, and I cannot sit still. It is in my DNA. I cannot sit still. There are times where I'm like, oh, I'm so burned out, but I'm like, no, I can't just sit still, maybe a week or 2 weeks. But then after that, I just kind of get a little.
Yeah, I can't imagine you just
whether it's
still.
Right, whether it's volunteer or work or something. And so then I said, you know what, I'm going to go back and get my license. I was already licensed in California in 2006 for real estate. And I said, well, I'll just come and do that here in Arizona. And so I did. I went back. Actually, same time. It was around the same time I was doing my master's. I had Sophia, and going to real estate school at night. And so it was like all at the same time. And I'm like, what am I doing? Oh, and working. So I was like, what am I doing? You know, but I had an end goal in sight. And you know how it is. Once you have that seed planted, you can't stop.
Yes.
You just keep going until you finish.
Absolutely.
And so I did. I finished. And right when I finished, it was that time. It was, everybody was going through short sales. Everything, the boom had really already popped, and I was working literally the bottom of the market. And I felt like at that time, so grateful because I'm like, this is where I'm going to learn the most.
Mm-hmm.
I came in, started with a brokerage here in Arizona, who is a nationwide brokerage. And there wasn't a lot of education in that brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't take a whole lot of my commission either, which, when you're starting out, that's great. At the same time, though, I really had to learn on my own skin. And that was navigating through short sales, negotiating with the banks, working through foreclosures, just really, I felt like, the rubble, how you're digging through the rubble.
Yeah.
That is how I felt when I was starting out in real estate. And that gained me the most education that I think you could possibly earn in real estate, because it's easy to come in, right, when things are really good.
Yeah.
But when you come in when the economy is terrible, things are at the bottom of the market, then you really learn a lot.
You know what's interesting with what you just said was, in two major breakthroughs, not just career, but in your life, you innovated during tough times. Late 2000s, that's when you shifted from the compliance business to real estate. And then with the pandemic, that's when you shifted from, being a broker to actually having your own agency. So I think the lesson I'm getting from your story so far is hardships really enables you to innovate.
Yes.
So to that point, my question to you, Anna, is: have you ever been broke?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, totally. During that time of going back to school, the market bottoming out, my husband and I, we bought our home in 2004. So it wasn't quite like the height of the market, but it was, we paid, I think at that time it was maybe about $267,000.
Okay.
That was a lot for us, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot for even now.
Yeah.
You think about it, the average graduate who's coming out of school, but we signed an agreement with the bank, and this goes into my compliance side, right?
Right.
And at that time, everybody was walking away from their homes. Everybody was short selling. Everyone was just like, I'm going to resolve myself of this debt by walking away from it. And we even came to a point where we were like, should we walk away from it? Because we couldn't afford to make our mortgage payment. My husband was in the mortgage industry. I'm in the same industry, on a different perspective, on a different angle, but our work had bottomed out. At that time, you think to yourself, okay, we got to put food on the table. We need to make our mortgage payment, or whatever we can of it, utilities, just basic life necessities, water, light, and food, right?
Yep.
And a roof over your head, and try to make that commitment. And so there were times where we were really struggling, put things on credit cards, which we absolutely hate doing. And we had a car repossessed because we were like, okay, at that time, let's see, what can we,
You're juggling.
You are cutting off
Yes.
the fat. You are trimming the fat.
Right.
And we came to a point where we were like, okay, let's start renegotiating with the bank. And we did. We renegotiated with our lender on, we want to make right on this commitment. Nick had to take a job that he was, overly qualified for, but you do it just to make ends meet. And that's when, around the same time that I went back to school, I was able to find a position that actually paid for my schooling, gave us benefits, paid a 401k. Like I thought, this is great. And you get comfortable in that too.
Yes.
Because you're like, okay, I get a good paycheck coming in every month. But I think the entrepreneur in me is like, okay, if I don't leave now, it's never going to happen.
Right.
And so you have to take that risk. And I felt like we are young enough. We have, a baby coming, but we were young enough where, okay, if we're going to do it, it's now or never.
I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing the story. I mean, I definitely can relate to that. Ace and I can relate to that. And I'm sure a lot of our audience listeners here can relate to that. I think probably 98% of entrepreneurs I've met have been broke.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few who have succeeded in the entrepreneurial journey where they were handed out stuff to begin with. There's very few. There are some. Um, Tell us a little bit more about your mindset, because, like you said, it's easy to. It's at that time when you were trying to get out of that financial struggle. It's definitely tempting to stay in that employee uh, situation because you're getting paid regularly. There's that so-called stability
Mm-hmm.
or false sense of security.
Right.
What was your mindset to allow yourself to get out of that and pursue the dream of entrepreneurship?
I honestly feel like it is in my DNA.
Mm,
I feel like and this is where Nick and I kind of balance out.
mm,
Nick is able to look at the smaller details,
mhm,
where I'm always looking at the bigger picture.
mm,
I don't look at what's just in front of me.
mhm,
I have a tendency to always look at the 5-year, 10-year, like
mhm,
what's happening down the road.
mhm,
If we don't lay this road down now, we're not going to get there.
mhm,
Whereas Nick is more like, okay, well, we need the materials to lay down the road. We need
Right.
the time. We need this.
mhm,
And so that's where we kind of balance each other out.
mhm.
Where having a good partner
Yes.
is, whether it's your personal partner, business partner, whatever it is,
Mhm,
if you don't balance each other out and you're both on the same exact wavelength,
mhm,
then you miss some steps along the way. And so I think for me, I I am a risk taker. Nick is a risk taker too.
mhm.
I think naturally as humans, we love to be comfortable, right? You don't want to be
Right.
cold.
Sure.
If you don't want to go outside where it's cold if you don't have a jacket.
Mhm.
You want that comfort.
Yep.
You want to stay inside where it's nice and cozy. Problem is when you stay inside when it's nice and cozy too long, you start to get a little lazy. You start to
Yes.
get a little, fat. And I don't mean like physically fat, but like you just get kind of lazy
Mhm.
and you don't have that drive. And I've been there too,
Mm.
where, I've gotten a little lazy and I've had a coach come in and help me, a business coach, say, okay, this is what you need to do, this, and this. But I think overall, my mindset is I'm very wired that way
Yeah.
to just do it.
Well, most entrepreneurs are, and I can definitely see that. Like I said earlier, I can't imagine you just sitting down.
Yeah, yes.
I feel like that's definitely in your DNA. But I love the fact that you give a lot of credit to Nick, your husband.
Mhm.
And I really think that the partner you choose for life is probably the most important. I really think it's the most important decision you're going to make. And it doesn't happen, as we know, doesn't always work. But how lucky are we
Yes.
that we have the partners we have? I mean, there's no way I could have done or I'd be doing what I'd be doing now if not for Azel.
Hmm.
So for those who don't really have that, that personal, that partner, um, how do you find the right partner, at least in business? I don't know if you've had business partners before. Like if you didn't have Nick, how do you think, you could have done it or how others could do it?
Yeah. So it's funny because, in school, when you have that school project
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, we're going to team you up with this person, this person, this person, and you work in teams. And then one person's always the one that does the majority of the work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's me. I've always been the one that does the majority of the work.
Right.
I wouldn't say I'm A type.
Yeah.
Some people do say that I am. I call myself a reformed A type. I think after you have kids, right?
Right.
You kind of just let go on some things.
Uh-huh.
But I've never worked well with others when it came to management.
Okay.
And I think because I'm so like, I feel like I am responsible for everything coming out. That
Sure.
everything that I produce or that has my name or has the brokerage name on it, I feel very responsible for it. And I take a lot of ownership and pride in that. And so finding a partner is very difficult. It doesn't necessarily have to be, like you said, a spouse or a partner in that sense, a family member. And sometimes family members can be the opposite of productive. Like, oh, don't do that. That's so risky. Or
true.
you know, and so I have to learn to smile and nod, right?
Yeah.
Got to be respectful. But at the same time, you have to learn, okay, I'm going to shut this off in my mind and not listen to this advice. And I think kind of discerning what advice is good and not, and gravitate to the people that are, you know, encouraging you, but not false encouragement, right? Like, I don't want somebody to say, oh yeah, that's a great idea when they know I'm going to fall flat on my face.
Right.
I want someone, and I think your intuition, your sixth sense plays a lot into that, where you know the people that are going to build up your business, the people who want to see you succeed. And so I think that those are the people that you really want to surround yourself with. And I don't mean like all the time spend time with them, but at least connect with them, you know, maybe once a month or over coffee or just something small.
Ideas. Yep.
Something small. Exactly. Bounce off ideas. I think that that's really important in finding.
That's a really, really good advice. And I think people, especially those who are starting out in their business, I've met a few where they kind of take those relationships for granted. Because a lot of people think that, oh, I need to get a mentor. Yeah, that's great. But a lot of times these people are actually around you already. And it's just a matter of like just a conversation over coffee. And it can be very, very powerful. So Anna, active real estate is now about 4 or 5 years.
Yes,
right?
4 years.
4 years. What are some of the challenges that you had so far? And if you don't mind, tell us a little bit how you kind of overcome those challenges.
Yeah. So some challenges are, you know, you do have agents that want to join your brokerage, and they might not necessarily align with us as a brokerage.
As far as values, the vision.
That and the other thing too is what they expect out of a brokerage. I have my hands in so many things right now, like not only work related, but also civically related, and then also with the kids, you know, and family. And so I don't have that time to handhold everything. I think the major challenge that I had first started off with is kind of offloading tasks, right?
Yeah.
Because again, going back to my controlling, like, you know, I want to be able to have control of everything. It's very hard for me to delegate. Okay, do this, and this, right? And I think it also is a bit culturally, because in our culture, you feel like in Chinese it's keqi, it's too polite. You want to be polite. You don't want to just like delegate everything to everybody, because it's like no, don't worry about it. As a woman and as a business owner, that has been a mental shift for me, in that I need to speak up. I need to say, okay, you know what? You got to do this, and you need to be doing this. And so that was an initial struggle for me. I feel like I am really good negotiating for other people, but not great at negotiating for myself. And so in this last 5 years, you know, post-pandemic, a lot of my mind work my mind workout
Mhm.
is I need to be negotiating for myself.
Mm.
I have these little things I say to myself sometimes, like speak up for yourself,
Mm.
do it now.
Mhm.
And action
Mhm.
is the best remedy for anxiety. So anytime I feel anxious about anything,
Love that.
it's action and prayer.
Mm.
You know, if
Sure.
you either do something or you get down on your knees.
Mhm.
So those are kind of the things that have helped me in my struggle with.
I love what you said on. Say it again.
Yeah. So
For anxiety.
action is the remedy for anxiety.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Because, as business owners, we do get in our head and we say to ourselves, oh, I got this to do and I got this to do and I got this to do. Okay. Well, you know what? My action plan is going to be, I'm going to make a list
Yeah.
because I love lists.
You're like Azo.
I like to check off the list and
Yeah.
then I feel so accomplished. Right.
Right.
And then that, even just checking 1 or 2 items off, you might not finish everything during the day.
Mhm.
But when you check a few items off, then I feel like, you know what? I did do something today. I can physically see,
Mhm.
that on my list that I've checked those off. And you know what? It's okay now. And this is something that I had to work on. It's okay now to have something from this list transfer over to tomorrow. It's
Mhm.
okay.
Yes.
I used to not be that way.
Mm.
I used to have to finish everything in one day.
Speaking of checklist, and by the way, I can see how that works in you. It's just in your DNA, I think.
Yeah.
I have a virtual assistant, not my executive assistant in the Philippines, and that's what she does. She just put things, so emails that are like priorities, she puts it in my to-do list, and then she creates to-do list. It's just amazing when you tick those off, you just feel so accomplished. I think
Yes.
psychologically it creates that significant momentum
Yes.
for you to just keep going
Yes.
and just really, continue to achieve. So speaking of which, before we continue, I just want to thank our sponsor for today, GapTech Global. So for those who are looking for remote professionals for executive assistant, IT, accounting, bookkeeping, GapTech Global is your go-to partner. GapTech Global's been around since 2017 and has done some amazing stuff for clients, not just in Arizona, but outside Arizona as well. So going back to your story with entrepreneurship, what has it done for you and for your family? I know it's pretty obvious, but I would love for you to share your story on what entrepreneurship has done for the family.
So I think 2 things, right? You have the tangible things.
Yeah.
So, material wise,
Mhm.
we have been able to go on some amazing vacations.
Yes.
In fact, last month we were in Taiwan and
Yes.
Japan.
Saw the pictures.
Yes.
I love the
And-
food.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. And so it's really opening the world
Mhm.
to our family.
Right.
Is what it has done.
I love
That's
it.
more the physical, tangible things,
Mhm.
right? But I think the not so physical, tangible things are more of the modeling.
Mhm.
You are modeling what owning a business looks like for your
love
family.
that.
And for the kids to see, oh, mom's working. So funny because anytime they see the phone go to my head, it's like silence. Now, it took a lot of years of conditioning for that
Right.
because when they were little, they're screaming in the background and I'm taking a call
Uh-huh.
and I'm putting it on mute and I'm like, be quiet, I'm on the phone. But now they know, okay, there's a respect. Mom has her own business, so we need to be respectful. It's the same with Nick too, because Nick owns his own business as well. It's completely separate.
Right.
And so it's seeing me working, and it's not just working at my desk. I mean, it's putting together things for, whatever shows I might be running or whatever event I'm volunteering at for the brokerage, or they also will do the mailers and the flyers, putting on the stamps. They work for me too.
Yeah.
And they do earn a little bit of,
Yep.
fun money
Mhm.
for that too. And I also take some stuff and I put it in a retirement account for them as well, because, they don't need to have access to all of that. I didn't have that. And so they don't need that. But it's those two parts. They see what you can do with the business, and they see my struggles too.
Mhm.
There are times where I am stressed out, things are not working out a specific way.
Mhm.
Not all transactions are beautiful. And they do see that. And so I guess they kind of ride the entrepreneur roller coaster with me. And it's good because then they really see how a business is ran from start to finish. And I try to include them in as much as I possibly can, what they're age appropriate wise. When we had moved into our building, they were helping me tear up the carpets. They were helping me sweep up, the dirt. They were helping me cleaning and stuff.
That's amazing. See, I love that. And I share the same, you know, story with how the kids are involved in the business, the modeling, and really the freedom, right? What entrepreneurship can really do for your freedom personally, and for the family. You spoke about um, being able to go on vacation. It's not just the enjoyment of being in a specific place, but because when you travel, it really opens up our mind on their history, the culture, and there's so much there, so much wisdom there that you can grab and apply in your everyday life. And obviously it's a luxury for the kids, because I never had that opportunity growing up. But the value that I see with my kids now, when they look back at those, it becomes part of their core memories. And I feel like that's talk about legacy. That's legacy right there. Because when they're 30, 40, they're going to talk about, oh, remember we went to this place when we were like 10, 15. And no one can take those away from them. And again, obviously, it inspires them to to really work hard. And obviously the opposite could happen, where they'd feel entitled. And obviously, I know your parenting style, that's not going to happen. And we make sure that doesn't happen. But it just really inspire the kids. Like Nico, for example, you ask him what he wants to do, and he'll tell you, I'm going to take over GabTech.
That's awesome.
And he's been working with me. He's been managing my collections report every day since he was 12.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
So he knows, like, when I talk to someone on the phone and I mention the name, and he said, oh, that's this client, because he knows it.
Yes.
It's
That's great.
but now he wants to learn more marketing, because he's in high school and he's part of this DECA club.
Yes.
So he's gonna start. He's helping me on marketing now, just doing analytics and things like that. So those are things that, not that's a luxury. Not all kids his age can say, oh, they're learning about marketing. They understand corporate. So since we're talking about the kids, growing up, Anna, during your childhood days, did you ever dream or imagine yourself being an entrepreneur?
So it's so funny you say that. I wish I still had this drawing too. My sister and I mean, we grew up pretty modest. We weren't poor by, maybe we're poor by today's standards, but we weren't poor by my parents' standards.
Sure.
Poor looked very different in Taiwan. It looked very different in, Texas at that time, where my parents were from. And we grew up, we always had food, so never complained there. We were never on help from the government. But when my sister and I would color, at home, I remember vividly, and my sister brings it up too. I knew that I wanted to own my own business.
Mm.
I didn't know what it was,
Yes.
but I wanted to be a
Me
businesswoman.
too.
And I played Barbies, and there was a business Barbie, right? She had her like power suit
Yeah.
with her little hat and
Uh-huh.
a briefcase, and she had her car. And I knew that I wanted to be married. I knew I wanted 2 kids because that was like, the traditional 1 girl, 1 boy.
Yeah.
I wanted the dog,
Mm.
and a big house.
Mm.
And I'm not kidding you. Sometimes when you put things down
Yeah.
onto paper, they come true. And that is
Yes.
where I'm at. And so I always knew that I wanted to have my own business. And then the second thing that I wanted to do growing up was be a principal for a school.
Mm.
And so, going into teaching and being able to experience that. And I will tell you this, when the kids are older, and I am done with, real estate, I do want to go back into teaching. I
Mhm.
felt very impactful,
Mhm.
working with the kids. And, I feel that I can still make a difference in that aspect. So I at some point in the future would love to go back and do that, even if it's just substitute teaching, or,
That
just making a difference.
that is amazing. Wow, that's I love that story. Um so now with active real estate, 4 years into business, what's your BHAG? What's the big, hairy, audacious goal for the company?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I like to write out my 1 year, 5 year,
Yes.
10-year goals, right?
Yep.
So the 10-year goal with active real estate is really to grow. So now we have our own space,
Mhm.
and we rent out half the space. My goal is to fill it,
Mhm.
and to not only right now our space, where our office is at, is off 51st and the 101. I would love to have one closer to home,
Yes.
closer to North Peoria.
Mhm.
And who knows? Maybe one day even franchise out.
Yeah.
You look at other brokerages, and that seems to be the model.
Mhm.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly.
So I think with a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of startups, franchising is kind of the way to go, right?
Yes.
Where you can monetize what you've already created.
Absolutely. And that's exactly, I kind of have that in mind as well. Because there's a lot of people now really want to go into entrepreneurship, but they'd rather follow a blueprint versus reinventing the wheel. I mean, which definitely makes sense. So Anna, what's your advice to yourself and to other entrepreneurs who are pushing to achieve their BHAGs um to make sure that those BHAGs are achieved?
Write it down.
Write it down.
Write it.
Mm.
Write it, see it, smell it, live it. I mean, it's from when I was in high school, I would write my yearly goals down, and I try to pick 3 or 4 like big goals
Mhm.
for the year.
Mhm.
And I would put it up on the mirror
Mhm.
and literally see it every single day.
Mhm.
And some years you can accomplish all of it,
Mhm.
but when you write it down and you see it, you actually mentally work towards it.
Mm.
And so it's the same in my office, and it's ugly paper, and I love things to look aesthetically like really, pretty. And it's always that one piece of paper that stands out
Mm.
that doesn't look like the rest of my office, but those are always my goals. I always,
Wow.
and you revise them year after year.
Mhm.
Your goal 3 years ago is not going to be the same goal that you
Yeah.
had today, right?
Right.
After living and growing your business. And so you can change goals. It's okay to change goals. You don't have to have the same goal.
Mhm.
And so writing it out is, I think, the most important thing in order to accomplish, whatever big goals you have.
And I totally agree with you. I do the same. So there's this quote or principle from Covey, which said, "All things are created twice, first in the mind, then in reality." And I think when you write it down, it just reminds your brain that this is what you're trying to achieve. So I love that advice. Um, Now, how about for those entrepreneurs who are starting and then just struggling to grow their business? What advice do you have for them?
That's a great question. So, growing and struggling, it's a few things. Number one, still the same, write it down. Second of all, surround yourself with people that are supporting
Love it.
your goal
Mhm.
and supporting your, whatever it is that you have in mind. The third thing is look at resources that don't cost money
Mhm.
to grow your business.
Mhm.
Every city, like the city of Peoria, for example, they have an economic business development. Well, I'm actually part of the economic development committee for the city of Peoria.
Mhm.
But we have a department where if you are a new startup, they will, you can not necessarily be assigned someone like a mentor, but they have different workshops that you can go to grow your business.
Mhm.
They have workshops to develop a business plan,
Mhm.
and that's essential. It
Yes.
doesn't matter what
Mhm.
business you're in. You really should have a plan.
Mhm.
That's writing out your goals. Really,
Yes.
is essentially what
That's
it is. What
exactly
your
what it
mission
is.
is, what your business is, and what
Mhm.
your goals are. That is what a business plan is.
Mhm.
And so seeking those resources, every city should have some sort of resource to help, a new startup or anyone who wants to start a business. And then I would say the other thing too is, like you had mentioned earlier, why reinvent the wheel? Get a mentor, get
Mhm.
someone who is willing to help you
Mhm.
grow your business,
Mhm.
show you how it's done, and then, model it. And you can tweak it along the way so that it aligns with whatever your mission value or your core values are. And that's the advice that I would give.
I love it. Very practical. It's not like one of those advice where it's so high level. This is both strategic and tactical, and anyone can really do it. So thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
And lastly, Anna, what is your favorite quote?
My favorite.
Quote, like something, a mantra, or something that just kind of inspires you when something is getting tough. Is there, a specific quote?
There is. So it's in Philippians, and it's, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
I love it.
There are times where I'm just like, I want to give up. I'm done. And it's amazing. In the Bible, there's so many verses
Yeah.
for when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're
Mhm.
grieving, when
Mhm.
you're frustrated, when you're
Mhm.
tired.
Mhm.
And I just have to remember, like, I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for sharing. Um, so Anna, we are at the end of today's episode, and I really, really appreciate just being vulnerable and just being authentic. Um, I'm sure our audience here today got a lot. I mean, I got a few wisdom just from today's episode. So for those who wanna contact you, reach out and connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you and learn more about your company?
Yes. Yeah. They can reach out to me via email, Anna, ANNA,
Mhm.
at activerealestate.com.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank
Well,
you for having me. by the way.
absolutely. Thank you for spending time with us today. So, guys, that concludes our show. Again, this is Chris Yap, your host of the podcast show From Zero to Revenue.